I'm live. I'm live here, Cowboy Nation. I'm live. Just wanted to step in right quick. I know I don't have my light. The lighting on this video is going to be kind of messed up. The lighting here is messed up. But I just wanted to go on and want to talk about a few things. If we could talk about a few things that's going to be um, important to the Cowboy Nation on this about the process. I'm hearing a lot of panic. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about this first practice. If you got a chance, go back and look at my last live. My last live, I told you about what this practice was going to be about. This practice was going to be about the coaches getting, we're in the second stage of this culture build and the second testing stage of this culture. Um, it's a lot going on here. Hold on one second. That's a little bit better. We're in the second. We're in the stages of this culture build, people. And I really want to try to calm people down for this panic that's going on. Schottenheim is trying to build a culture here that is different from the culture that has been here for the last 5 years. And if you looked at some of my videos before, I told you that patience is going to be really important. And I mean patience is going to be really important because of the fact that, we're in the second stage. And I keep going over the same stuff. If you watch all my videos, I continue to keep repeating the same things because there's important for you to learn these things when I talk about the 5 building blocks of a culture: physicality, discipline, mental toughness, coaching / leadership, and talent. Those are the building blocks of building a winning culture. A culture like Schottenheimer says he wants to have a championship culture that's best in sports. But those 5 building blocks have to be there. And you're always trying to build on those building blocks. And then I talked about there's going to be 5 stages, testing stages. There's going to be 5 stages of a culture build. And those 5 stages is the excitement stage. I told you before, we all in the excitement stage. Now the excitement stage is kind of dwindling a little bit, but it's still the excitement stage because we want to know what this new club is going to do with these new pieces, whatever. And then I said the second stage of a culture build is the adjustment. We are in the adjustment period. This is the first practice against other players that this total coaching staff has had with this team. So as a coach, what you're trying to find out is all the techniques that we've been doing in practice for the last week or so, are they going to translate to when we go out here on the field against different competition? And then Schottenheimer comes out today and tells you, yes, playing high. Playing high, that's not translating to what we talked about, what the coaches have talked about. how players react when they get blown up, how players reacting when we're trying to coach them on the field, how players react to when they watch the film study and how they're going to adjust. So he's going to learn a lot in the second practices today, what happened today, because of the reactions of what happened in the previous. This is an adjustment period. I know all you fans out there are so thirsty for the Cowboys to be dominant from day one, and it's no doubt that we're gonna get to the Super Bowl. But it's a process, like he said. And when he said you gotta be in love with the process, he's basically talking about the book Chop Wood Carry Water. Fall in love with the process, surrendering the outcome. Fall in love with the process of getting better every day. And it's going to take some adversity. I'm still not shying away from the talent that we have on this football team. But it's a certain way that your coaching staff and Schottenheimer wants this team to prepare and to play. Now, us watching the highlights, even though we had people there on the ground taping, it's very hard to really judge these practices. But one thing that I'm really getting upset with is we're waiting for people to give us splash plays. We're waiting for somebody to notice somebody that said, oh, he flashed all the plays, and somebody gives a notice for somebody that did something great. For us as fans to say, oh, they're doing good. Or we're waiting for something negative to happen and say, oh, they having a bad day. Football is not like that, people. You're going to have some good plays. There's going to be some bad plays. But all of these are making them better. There's a process to this thing. And we're going to say, what I want to see when we get to Saturday is that we play better than when we play in the scrimmage. That's fine. It may not be the starters. They're running a lot of mixed lineups. They're moving people around. We're in the adjustment period. The adjustment. Coaches are adjusting to our players, and our players are adjusting to our. This is the first, like I said, the season starts when you start a new competition. This is the first time that this group of coaches with this group of players and this group of players with this group of coaches got a chance to be in a battle setting with each other. And they learned a lot. You learn a lot when you get in a battle setting. Now, what I did see in some of these run plays that we said was bad, I saw one or two guys not finish their blocks in some of the cases, and it was a dead play. I see what Schottenheimer said about being too high. But this team has to learn, goes back to what Schottenheimer been saying from day one. And y'all have to listen. If y'all listen, y'all really understand. Do y'all understand that, hey, it's a process. Everything he's saying flows with each other. That's what I'm liking about him. I'm not saying that he's the greatest coach in the world, but everything he's saying is translating to what I'm seeing on the field. Not the success about the stuff he's saying. I can see I can see what he's talking about on the field. I can see it. In the previous regime, I would hear something said, and then when I look at the field, I don't see nothing to like what he was saying. Let's go back to what he said, and he said this a couple times. He said practice. He wants practice to be the sole thing for us to get better at. He also said that they have to teach their players how to practice. Then he came back and said that he's trying to build calluses and have a physical camp, but he wants the team to build calluses. Then he talked about the scrimmage, about the practice session, and said, we want to see how they're going to respond and how we're going to try to increment and put in our mentality or our culture of being a physical team. None of the things that I just said that he said comes at the snap of the finger without any adversity or comes in just like that. All of those are building blocks. You're not going to teach your team how to practice and how to prepare in 2 weeks. Now, you got a better chance now to make that more believable because now that it came out of practice with someone else and some of it didn't go well. Now you can tell them, say, hey, we were trying to prepare you for this type of encounter. But let's don't panic, man. Let's don't panic. And listen, I told y'all about this. You can have eyes, and this is not dissing none of the guys that's down in and none of the beat writers and all that's giving reports. A lot of them, I really respect them, what they do. But when you ever get in a point of view of a person that's giving cliff notes, basically, it's gonna be it's hard for them to leave their biasness out of who they really like and who they don't like and how we look at things. So this, like I said, at the end of the day, we gotta trust our coaches. We ain't have no choice but to trust our coaches. We got no choice right now to trust our coaches because if we don't trust our coaches, and I'm not saying that because I'm a former coach, but I understand what the point of view I'm trying to get over to you right now. Your coaches they know what play they're calling. They know what they're asking the guy to do. They know what technique that they've been working on. They can look at a final result of a play and says, okay, out that play, you did this good, this good, but the end result didn't end up like a major play, but we give you a check mark for doing your job. We could be looking at it from the outside and say, oh man, he got to do better. So if we're not going to trust our coaches, now listen, I know some people can come at me and say, well, did you trust the other coach? No, I said before in previous shows, we got to trust our coaches, but the results, right? At the end of the day, we can evaluate at the end of the day how it goes. But one thing I cannot go with, and my coaching says this: if you tell us something over and over again, and then I'm watching the games, and it don't even look like you even addressing it, then I got a problem. When I watch guys do over and over in film, when I watch a group of guys do stuff that's not technically sound over and over again, then I got a problem with that. When I see your players not responding, I got a problem with that. When I see your players don't have a reference to get back to, now what I mean by reference, there's a certain style you want your players to play. They should have a reference to say, you know something, I had a bad game because I didn't do so and so. Because that's the style we're supposed to play with. But when they don't have no reference, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to change every week. But like I said, man, there's 5 stages that a new culture has to go through. We in the excitement stage, they're gonna overlap. The excitement stage is still here. The adjustment stage, the coaches adjust to the players, players adjust to the coaches. The third one is the testing stage. And Star is right. Our culture is going to get tested by our own media because they're going to try to paint a picture of certain players, certain things that they're going to ask questions. And I'm not going on, but they're going to test to see if Schottenheimer is going to stay to the culture. Our own ownership is testing the culture that Schottenheimer trying to put in. Because he's trying to put in a culture of our leaders on this team being leaders by example of how we practice and play. But hell, we can't even get the guy signed. They tested his culture. You're going to get tested by players. Y'all can talk about all the great players, talk about how players is. Players going to test you. They're going to be some that's going to do what you want to do, and then they're going to test the parameters of the culture. All that's going behind the scenes because that's something you don't talk about. But I'm telling you what's being talked behind the curtain. That's just naturally. You got 90 players. They're gonna try to test the culture to see how far they can push it. And now we're going into the fourth testing thing. We got excitement. We going through the adjustment period. Like I told you, they're gonna overlap. We're getting tested from all this culture that Schottenheimer's doing is getting tested from all angles. Now we're going to number 4. My number 4 stage is being persistent. I don't want Schottenheimer to get off his culture now. I've heard people say, okay, we can't run the ball. We got people in our own community that are so pass happy, that are so wanting to put the whole enchilada on Dak Prescott. That say if we don't get 30 yards on every carry, oh man, we need to abandon that. We just need to go to Pickens and Lamb. That's what's working. And all that is a setup to put the whole thing on Dak Prescott. And if it don't work, then we can say, oh. And I hear this over and over again. Our own community will get pass happy. They'll be like, man, the 2 yards, they'll jump down and say, well, you ain't got need to run the pass the ball more first down. Oh, 2 yards, this, that. We ain't getting that. We need to open the pass game. Then we'll open the pass game we get. As soon as we start playing good teams, that ain't gonna work. Because if you ain't got no physicality to good teams, I don't care who your receivers is, that ain't gonna work. Because good teams got good cornerbacks and secondaries. And when we lose or when we get at the end of the season, then the first half of the offseason, we'll be talking about, well, we know we need to get better at the running game. And as soon as we get to draft time, we'll be start talking about receivers again. I don't want to see Schottenheimer go away from the physical presence. because the running game, the run defense takes time to get acclimated to be able to stop. It takes continuity. It takes you being comfortable. It takes time. It takes work. If this was a quality running team, it may pick up faster. But remember, we have not been a quality running team. Well, we had a quality running team, but it hadn't been a focus. And remember, I always told y'all people, man, players, man, they're grown men, but players are like this. Whatever the coach deems important, and really, listen, every player knows what their coaches and their position coach and what their coaches like to do and what they deem important. I remember I was in high school, man, and this is a long time ago, man. And we was in I was playing offensive line. And we knew, all the offensive linemen knew, if we got Coach Foss to start talking about old times, he'll sit there and give you a story about old times and take up half of the individual period when we supposed to be doing individual work and working hard in the sun. And we'll be sitting around listening to him talk about stories. So somebody always try to get him onto a story like, Coach Fowler, man, what y'all used to do back in the day, just to get him off. Then we had this other coach named Coach Brown, Kenny Brown. You couldn't get him off anything. If Kenny Brown came over if Kenny Brown got to practice when we were doing the warm-ups, everybody on the field knew if somebody messed up in the warm-ups, we'll be doing up downs. Players learn their coaches. And when they learn their coaches, they learn what their coaches deem important. And whatever their coaches deem important, you could best believe they're going to try to be on point when it comes to that. This play, you can't tell me this offensive line and this team didn't say, hey, man, the last 5 years, like, man, we want to run the ball, but that's not important to us. Pass the ball to us. So if we ran a play and we ain't getting no couple yards, we're not gonna get yelled at. Ain't nobody gonna put us on the sideline because of that. You think our tight end thought blocking was very important in this pass offense? No. They deemed that you need to catch the ball or be in the back. CeeDee Lamb just told you that he said, I got to work on blocking. When we heard about that, you should have been saying that for the longest. But why he said that? Because this coaching staff deems that everything that we do in the run game is important. So when they deemed as important, players are always going to cater to what their coaches deem important because they don't want to get in the doghouse. So this team is learning their players and they're learning their coaches. And the coaches are learning their players. The coaches are learning when we get in the midst of a battle what I need to do to get this jump started. They're also going to learn to say, we got real film now against you against other players. So now we get to give you constructive criticism based off some other people you played. Now we're going to find out how you relate to that. But we have to be persistent. Schottenheimer said something today that was very important. He said, yeah, we went physical. We was high, but guess what? They went right back and passed the next day. We're going to stay the course and the process. And we're not going to jump off the process. I don't care if it doesn't look good right now. Why? Now, this is where some people going to jump down old coach and they're going to say, if you don't believe in your process that makes you jump off of it like this, then your players are going to jump off everything that you try to do. If you don't have an identity of a team, which this team didn't have an identity last 5 years, if you don't have an identity of a team, you don't have what I just said about how do you get back to what makes you good if you ain't got no identity? And then if you ain't got no identity, the other team dictates what you're going to do every game. Because soon as something don't work, guess what you do? You jump off and start doing something else. Football is just like a person that you see to jump from job to job and go to one thing to another thing. They don't have no roots about what they want to do. Y'all see those people? Like I said, football is you got to think the same. Coaches think the same way. If I don't have an identity, I can't tell our team to say, we need to get back to this, what makes us good. And my identity is a reflection of the coach. And if the coach, that don't mean you got to be stubborn, but he got to get the basics set in stone. That don't mean you're not going to call different plays. That don't mean you're going to put wrinkles. But every play, every team has a core group, group of plays that said this is our identity, and we can run this. This is good. I don't care if you know it's coming. You can say it's coming. We still gonna make it successful. And everything else is built off of that. But if you ain't got that, guess what? You controlled by the other team. Same thing with defense. When they say defense got a base look, yeah. We talk about offense, but the same thing what I'm telling you about on defense. There's a core identity with our defense. Our defensive line playing too high. Our defensive line not playing. Listen, it takes you a while for your defensive line to learn how to play with each other. Everybody think a defensive line to get out there and don't play with each other, and they just know the defensive line works just as like the hand is the offensive line. The defensive line and the linebackers having that chemistry. This is the new offense, new defense. We just want the process to get better. So right now, we're in the persistent stage. He has to stay the course. If you jump on the course in 2 weeks, then you'll always be jumping. And then as this training camp goes on, we'll get to the number 5 stage. That's the maturation. And we're starting to see the maturation of this culture as it goes along. I've told you this. If this culture is built right, with a strong foundation, we might be 2-2 in the first 4 games. We may be 3-2 in the first 5 games. In this NFL, the first 5 games, yes, they may be division games, but they mean something, but they don't. You don't want to come out 1-5 or 0-5, but 500 or above 500 going into the last 12 with going and finding out about yourself and have a solid roots, you'll be fine. I know when people talk about you got division games. Yes, you got division games. They count really big, but you got the second division game playing. Schottenheimer has to say is about the team improving, not the shock value. I usually call that long-term substance, not short-term pleasure. I want long-term substance. When I eat breakfast, man, I like to eat grits and eggs and cheese and sausage and toast. Something that's gonna stick to my ribs, that's gonna sustain me and maybe to all the way to dinner instead of eating a bagel and some cream cheese. Yes, it might be beautiful, tasting good right then, but you guess what? It don't sustain. What's up, Coach Fowler? I'm just trying to tell the guys about panicking, Coach Fowler. There's a process to this. Coach Fowler knows this. You're a coach. There's a process, and especially when you're trying to build something new, it's going it's going to take it's going to take time. Now, I said this when you're trying to build a new culture. You're going to find out, and we're going to find out, and I know we're finna jump, some people going to jump on this, but we're going to find out in this new culture that we're building, right, that there are going to be some players that we assume that are good that we're going to find out that either not built for the culture, won't accept the new culture. And there's going to be some players that we're going to find out that we may not have been overlooking, that we're going to find out that are built for the culture I want to do, because they weren't built for the last whatever culture was. They built for mine. And they're going to accept the culture to the point because that's what they're going to do. So we're still trying to figure out our players. This coaching staff cannot figure out players because somebody said this is how they look on film. This is how they, played last year. You, as a coach, you cannot trust that until you put your hands on them and you give them instruction and you find out how they move. And this was the first test. Now, yeah, we might have got beat up on it, but listen, stay the course. What your coach said he wanted? He wanted to build calluses. I told y'all last week. I told y'all the last time I here, calluses. Didn't y'all coach say he wants you to build this team to build calluses? Tell me somebody who ever built calluses on the first day. First, you got to rough it up. Then you're going to get the soreness. Some of y'all might even get blisters. And then the calluses start to form as you keep the course and keep on working. If you stop working and stop doing stuff, you ain't going to ever build calluses. And we got to work through that. Now, there's some things I don't like. There's some things I don't like. And I don't want to hop on this because I said I was going to stop talking about this. But I need to keep talking about this because of the fact I care about the Cowboys. And I also care about young players and them getting to be the best that they can be. That's how I always been. I want to see guys that are talented to be the best that they can be. And I'm saying this again, Michael Parsons. They making statements like they don't even want to talk to you. They're not even talking to you. They made a statement today that he ain't too concerned about signing you before the season starts. And I understand leaving camp gets you fined. I understand. But staying there is jeopardizing you having a good season. I need you to get back to Dallas and to get back to your workouts that you was doing before training camp started. You can't do that in Oxnard because you reported about this back thing. We understand what it really is. But sitting there, you ain't getting no calluses. And I'm not blaming you at all. But I'm looking out for you. And I'm not talking about where you may get a soft tissue injury, when you didn't play. You're not getting better not practicing. And that's not your fault. And going home and working out is not practicing. But it'd be better than standing around joking with everybody. And if they're gonna sign it, and listen here, if they trade you or whatever, you'll make the money back up that you lose. But you can't cheat this game and not work. And I know people say, "Oh yeah, well that happens with so and so." Everybody want to point out where it happens. But if I bet you gave me 10 instances, you might find one or two that it turned out really good. But you find 8 that it didn't turn out as great. And I go on the odds. You are in your 4th year.